Hello Chipola and welcome back to Chipola College TV. My name is Salem Novogloski and I'm here to bring you the latest and greatest here at Chipola. Now for the academic news. Spring term classes begin this week, so be sure to purchase all course material needed for your classes at the Chipola bookstore. Also, this will be the last week to add or drop classes for the spring semester.
Our word of the week is tete-a-tete, which is a private conversation between two people.
This month marks the 50th anniversary of a beloved educator here on campus. That's why this week we would like to spotlight Mr. Robert Ivy, Professor of History here at Chipola College. We now go to Ashley Lido with more on this.
Hey Chipola Nation, we're here with Mr. Ivy, who is our history professor here at Chipola College. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good. So we're here today because this is your 50th year teaching. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Actually, this January starts 50 years that I've been in teaching, and I really can't believe it. And in fact, I was telling someone not long ago, I said it's kind of funny. I probably couldn't tell you what happened last year, but when I look at like the first couple of years that I taught, my first year teaching, I could probably tell you even students that I taught, and that's been such a long time ago. But it has flown by, and I guess maybe it's flown by because I've always enjoyed it, or I would have retired a long time ago if it hadn't been there.
Well, what inspired you from the beginning to get started in education?
When I came to school here, in fact, I started here I graduated high school in 1967 and started at Chipola. At that time, it was Chipola Junior College. And I had a number of really good instructors. Probably Charlton Keene was an instructor here, was very good, and a lady by the name of Frances Stewart. And by the time that I had Miss Stewart, I thought she was an old lady, because she wasn't, she wasn't really young, but she made history just really come alive. And I'd always enjoyed reading, historical-based books and novels and this sort of thing. And I just, in trying to decide, what I wanted to do, I really didn't know that I was going to go into education at all, because my degree, when I went to the University of West Florida, my actual degree was just history. It wasn't history education. And but when I graduated from university, that was a time that, and it sounds like ancient history now to a lot of people, but that was the time when the Vietnam War was really going big time. And as a senior, I enlisted in the United States Army Reserve.
Oh, wow.
And because my draft number was 13. And so right after I graduated that summer, I went off to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and was in training until like late December. And this was in 1971, I guess, and got out of the military, active military, and began looking at possible jobs. And I was really looking at something maybe in terms of government service or something like that. And a friend called me and said, are you interested maybe in teaching? And I said, well, I really hadn't thought about it too much, but I said, yeah. I said, why? What do you know? And they said, well, there is a job opening. They've got to fill somebody really quick at the middle school in Chipley, Florida, in Washington County. And I said, well, that sounds okay. And I said, what would he be teaching? And they said, oh, by the way, it's teaching music. And I said, well, I'm really not certified in music. I've been involved in music with my brothers since high school, literally. And but I said, I don't know if I could teach it. And they said, well, will you just try it? And so I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I ended up teaching the rest of that school year, teaching choral music is actually what I did. And it's kind of interesting because I guess it really shows my age, but Evelyn Ward, who's with over the fine arts, her husband Randy Ward was one of my middle school students at that time. So I said, that really makes me feel old, I guess, though. But I finished the year there, and then during the summer, and I got an opening at a high school level teaching history. And this was at Malone High School at Malone, Florida, which was a very good school, and I think it's still a very, very good school. And I said, well, I'll take the job there and teach, and maybe in a couple of years I'll find a bigger school to teach in. Well, I ended up staying at the high school in Malone 21 years, and began actually doing some adjunct teaching at Chipola in history. And then in the school year 1993, 94, then an opening came here, and so I've been here ever since, though. And I've thoroughly enjoyed teaching for all the years, or otherwise I guess I certainly would have retired, but it's still fun. I still enjoy it, though.
Right, so you went from Army Reserves to teaching music to teaching history.
Exactly.
And I feel like there's such a stigma, especially today, around history, where a lot of people seem to think it's boring, but it's not at all when you really dive into it. And I think, like what you said, having a really good teacher helps inspire that in students, and that's what happened with you, right?
Right, and as I try to tell students, history is about us. History is what happened 5 minutes ago. That's history. We can't reclaim the time, but maybe, and we're going to make mistakes in our lives, and with everything we do, we all do. Hopefully those mistakes aren't so bad that we can't
recover from
them. Yeah, but maybe we can learn from them, and I think that's one of the best things that history should teach us, is that maybe we should be able to learn from the past. I'm not sure a lot of people do that, though, really.
Right, and just like being alive during Vietnam, I'm sure a lot of people at the time weren't thinking, oh, this will be in history books one day. But It's just like, with my generation with COVID, we went through that and did not think it would be.
Oh, no.
But it's going to be one day. It's going to be in history books.
Well, it's like I was telling someone the other day, I said, all the years in Chipola has been a college since the late 1940s. And I said, I don't know that I can think of a situation where we faced the crisis going back to the hurricane that came through and shut things down and did some damage here, and then COVID, when we had to totally rearrange school life. As you were just saying, it's a marker in our lives, to say the least.
Yep, and thankfully we have records of that with history.
Yeah.
And we can learn from it. And it's so amazing to me that you can literally, anything that you do can be history one day.
That's exactly
and
right.
Anybody can be in a history book.
Yeah.
That's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to talk about your time here. You won some awards, correct?
Yeah, I guess.
The Kirkland Award,
yes,
for example.
Yes, that's right.
And you also published a book.
Yes,
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I published a novel, I guess it's been about 2 years ago. And the novel, actually, in fact, it's entitled The Day the Angels Came to Dunning. And it actually came from a dream. And the dream was so vivid that I said, I wonder if I could write a story around this dream. And so, I took that and wrote it. And it took me several years of writing it. I'd start and then I'd stop and I'd start and stop. And finally finished it about 2 years ago. And I've really enjoyed it. And as the case would be, I've written a sequel to it now. And it's being edited right now. In fact, I have a real good editor who taught English for many years, who also happens to be my wife. But she's a good editor. But say behind her, you've got to finish this for me so we can go ahead and publish it.
That's a
again.
good match right
Yeah,
there.
it
author
really
and
is.
editor.
Because she's really good at editing, though. So, but I hope it's going to be published before, hopefully, maybe just a couple months. I'm hoping anyway, though.
Yeah, and where could we get that book? Is it on
Okay.
Amazon?
You can find. In fact, I noticed a number of sites that you can still get the first novel, and the second one will be there also. But Amazon, it's published through a company called West Bow Press, which is self-publishing, because, as I found out, it's really hard to publish unless you are well established in writing, and
Right.
most people, that's just not the case, though.
Because there's so many people that want to be authors
I
out
think
there.
I think that's exactly it, and so that was the route I had. But I was real pleased at the way it'd been received, though. Anyway, though, so that alone was to me satisfaction, to
Right.
to have done it, though.
And we'll see if we can leave a link in the description to find that book for
thank
anybody
you.
that wants to see that.
Thank you.
So, aside from the Kirkland Award, the books, what's been the most rewarding experience that you have had teaching?
I think Chipola has been such a tremendous setting for teaching and for students, because Chipola College, and as I said, I've really enjoyed it because it's a small school, and you don't have classes of 100, 150, 200. You don't have classes where you're just a number, and I feel accessible to students, and hopefully that makes a difference too.
Right, you can be way more helpful.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that being involved in a smaller school just makes a world of difference when it comes to education.
I told someone years ago, I said, if Chipola had been a 4-year school when I was going, I probably would have just stayed here rather than, transferring to University of West Florida, which at that time was only a couple of years old, and it was a much smaller school then as well. It wasn't nearly as big as University of Florida or Florida State University, so it was felt better.
So is there any advice that you would give to any aspiring educators or historians, anybody that would want to pursue these types of careers?
Yes, I think I would say to, especially someone who's looking at maybe education, that today I think in education we need good teachers that are committed to education.
Right.
And as a number of years ago, when I first came here, I also taught a course in Introduction to Education. And one thing that I always told students, I said, it doesn't matter where you teach or how big your classes are, whether they're small or large. I said, always give 100% every day, because students will notice that. And regardless of what you think of your own teaching, I said, your students will remember you.
Right.
And they'll say, oh, gee, Mrs. So-and-so, Mrs. Smith, she was the best teacher I ever had. Or they'll say, and Miss Smith was the worst teacher I ever had. I said, you'll be remembered, one way or the other. And as a teacher, you want to feel like and you are touching people. I mean, you really are. So I think that's important.
Oh yeah, and a teacher that inspires you, I'd call it a life-changing teacher. I've had a couple of those. I'm sure everybody has.
I think so.
And I don't think they realize it when they do that,
Probably not.
But it makes a world of difference.
Oh, it does. It sure does.
Well, thank you for coming out today
Thank you for
and
having
doing
me
this
today.
interview, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Be sure to check out the rest of our channel for more videos you may be interested in. We'll see you next week. Keep it charming, Chipola.